Welcome to April. It is a jam-packed month. We've got the Easter holidays, so we've got 2 weeks where we're open like every day, and we've got some really big names coming up, film-wise, and we've also got the Oscar winners coming up as well. So, it is a really jam-packed month, and it looks great because our program is like twice, 3 times the size as the usual one, and it's just so
Yeah,
exciting.
I think it's one of our best programs in like recent memory. Like
Yeah.
again, it's like some of the earlier months. It was sort of like your choice between Bridget Jones and Dogman, and wasn't
Hmm.
much else. But like this month, you have a lot of choice. So
Yeah.
I'm actually really excited. There's so much to see, but I'm probably not going to get to see it all. So I'll probably be sad.
There's a lot of things that are kind of just on once, things that you can plan to see and
Yeah.
that you
Mm.
really, that I think a lot of people will want to get in there.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, a lot of choice, but not as much choice on the dates to see them.
I know one's sold out, but I know a couple more are very close to selling out, or I can see them selling out because of what they are. Like we've already got a sold out screening of Six, the musical.
Oh wow.
Um, so we've got it on 3 other times. They're not sold out yet, but I can see
Mm.
them selling out. And like we've got Conclave on for the final times because we've had it on since December, and it's been selling out since December.
Yeah, people love that film.
Yeah.
They just keep coming back. It's
Yeah,
great.
I know. It is really good. But and we're also open. I mean, part of the reason why we've got so many things on is because we're open during the Easter holidays. So we've
Yeah,
got kind of the weekdays to show things as well. So if you
yeah,
don't want to spend your Friday night, or whatever, like at the cinema and you want to be doing something else, there's always these weekday screenings, which is
yeah.
I think
And
really nice
morning
to
ones
have.
as well sometimes, but
Yes.
Yeah, morning ones.
we'll get on to that.
We will.
Before we talk about the April films or some of the April films that we got on, some of you may remember that we spoke about the Oscars in the last episode and gave some of our predictions. Well,
I remember. I remember
you'll
this
be
well.
I bet you do,
well.
Zach.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say my score and then we can go around the room and say what your score was. Okay,
hmm
so it was out of 6. Um, I got 2 out of 6 right.
Woo!
Way.
Yeah, 2 out of 6.
Feel like
Yeah,
we need to give you a participation award.
yeah,
Yeah.
gold star for trying.
Yes, well
I'm
done.
happy with that. Emily,
I
what do
didn't
you
do
get?
much better. I got 3 out of 6.
It's
So
half.
halfway there.
It's
Yeah.
Halfway there.
50%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Half of them right. The only person to get a majority right, 4 out of 6,
Mm,
was me.
just right, rub it
The
in.
Anora picks coming in clutch with Best Director and Best
I
Picture.
I really didn't expect it, and somehow you saw it coming. I feel like this season has like thrown a lot of people off
Yeah.
Yeah.
because of, I mean, it was that last minute, you mentioned that last minute push from Anora with the
Hmm.
producers, directors and writers guild awards.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I think a lot of people didn't see it coming, including me.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't, if I wasn't kind of watching those awards, I wouldn't have thought it was not my
Yeah.
prediction. It was not one of the ones I was considering early, but after it won those, I was like, oh, actually, that means already a lot of the voting base of the Oscars has already said they kind of want this film to win.
Yeah.
So yeah, kind of a last minute pivot that got me the
Yeah.
dub for the Oscars this year. But to be fair, you both got Brody winning
Mm,
Best Actor, which I actually got wrong. So, there
yeah.
were, it wasn't
Yeah.
all it wasn't one-way traffic, as you might say.
Exactly.
So
No, I think it was really interesting to see the winners because it was a bit of a curveball because I feel like last year was a lot easier to kind of predict. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
yeah,
I
so
mean, you had the Oppenheimer sweep.
yeah.
yeah, and then the only film that got as many nominations as Oppenheimer this time round, obviously
Mm,
then got a lot of backlash publicly, and then a big controversy. So with a bit, so it was kind of that helped things and made the landscape a lot more competitive than it might have been
yeah.
otherwise. Whereas, yeah, Oppenheimer just sort of had the runway, and
Yeah.
it just
Yeah.
marched down. So
It was great though to see like some of the other categories like I'm just so pleased to for Flo to have won.
yeah,
and I watched it like a week ago. My God, it is so good. And I'm a sucker for animals and cats anyway. I watched it with my cat curled up beside me, so I was like,
Oh,
oh, that's
Okay.
cute. Um,
Yeah.
but like the animation and the actual the story of it is just so unique, and
Mm.
I cried. It was good.
it's such a win for kind of independent film as well. I'm
Yeah.
really happy with that.
It's
Yeah.
also a Latvian film, isn't it? Which is obviously
Yeah.
Hmm.
not a country that
Hmm.
gets loads of kind of
Yeah.
representation in terms of accolades, like as a film country. So,
Yeah.
kind of cool to have a little bit more kind of variety, I suppose, as
Yeah.
well.
And they did a little once they'd won, they did a little animation of in the film of the cat climbing to the top of this cat statue, which happens in the film. But it climbed to the top and it had like a an Oscar or so. I can't remember what it was, but they animated it and it was like that is quick and I appreciate that. I appreciate
Yeah, they must have
um
that prepared up for in case
yeah.
they won.
No, that was it was
They
very good,
did.
and
They did.
it's a massive win for independent cinema, and it just shows that you don't obviously you have to have some money, unfortunately, but you don't have to have a lot, and
Yeah.
it's about skill and the passion for the work, and it really, really shone through. That was a tangent I wasn't expecting to go on. I wasn't
Well,
even expecting to say
it does all of that talk actually transitions quite nicely though into the first
mm,
film we're going to talk about, which is Anora itself, the big Oscar winner. Because you
mm,
talk about independent film doing very well. I mean, that was also an independent film, distributed by Neon, and of course, won all the Oscars kind of in the end. It was
yeah,
the big sweeper. So, um, yeah, quite a big night for independent film and a lot of like different places. So.
definitely, yeah.
But yes, we can move in to do a little review
Go for it.
of
That was
Nora
perfect.
now, if you want. So, yeah, so we've got this one on early on in the month. So I think the first screening is around on the 4th, but we've got it on two other times as well. So again, this was the big, like I just said, big Oscar winner, indie film, Sean Baker, classic indie director, kind of finally getting his dues. He personally, in one night, went from having zero Oscar nominations ever to having personally won four, I think, because he personally won for Best Director, personally won for Best Picture because he was a producer, personally won for Best Screenplay, which he wrote alone, and then he is his own editor, and the film won for Best Editing. So pretty big night
Crazy.
Mm.
for him personally, as well as Anora. Um, But getting to actually what the film is about, because I think a lot of people didn't even know what this film was when it won all these awards. People were quite surprised. It wasn't one of the ones that I think
Yeah.
the more general public who aren't really following every kind of film trend and thing actually knew about. So this is a film. It's an American film, and it's about kind of this high-end Brooklyn stripper and kind of eventually sex worker called Nora who kind of lives in this like Russian American district in Brooklyn and ends up one of her clients being this the son of this Russian oligarch. And they kind of get to know each other and he kind of wants to get closer to her and gets her to do kind of other jobs outside the strip club and they go out on this big night in Vegas in the end and they kind of have this crazy typical Vegas night and end up getting married at the end of it. He's so infatuated with her, and obviously, you know, it's kind of a whirlwind romance, you might say, a kind
Mm.
of hedonistic romance, but it's yeah, ends in a marriage, um, you know, and they all seem settled in this big, lovely, big mansion. Again, this Russian oligarch son, I should say, he's called Vanya, or he's nicknamed Vanya. His real name is Ivan, but he's called Vanya throughout the film. I actually couldn't quite clock why, but he is. Um, and he's kind of this very how would you describe it? He's kind of this very he's got quite entitled, he's meant to be in the US studying, but he's playing video games and obviously, meeting strippers. And so you
Mm.
kind of know the type of person he is already. But he gives her this life of luxury. But very soon that catches up with them when his parents find out he's married a stripper and are going to do anything now to get this marriage annulled. And that's
Mm.
kind of where the plot comes in. A team is sent over to try and come in and annul this marriage, um, and take Vanya back to Russia. But just as they turn up, Vanya, again, this kind of flaky, hedonistic, impulsive guy, abandons his newlywed wife and runs into Brooklyn, leaving her alone with these Armenian and Russian men, led by this Armenian guy by the name of Toros, who's kind of the handler, and assisted by quite another interesting character, a Russian man called Igor, who was played by Yuri Borisov, who was nominated for the Best Supporting Actor role. Um, and yeah, so it's up to kind of them together. Again, she's kind of hostile to this whole situation. So you've got the conflict there. She wants to stay married to him, but she's basically their prisoner for this thing. And they obviously she wants to find Vanya for different reasons. And so you have this conflict as they all try and head into Brooklyn and follow the kind of breadcrumbs that Vanya has left. And they try and find him through in the city, which is easier said than done.
Mm. I mean, there's a lot, from what I'm hearing, there's a lot of plot in there. I was wondering how well you think it balances kind of, kind of, because it's not a very long runtime, is it?
No, I think so. It's 139 minutes.
Oh,
So
okay. Oh, right.
so it's decent runtime,
Mm.
yeah.
I was wondering how well you think it kind of balances each plot point and how, because from what you're saying, it seems as though the first half is that kind of whirlwind romance, and then the second half seems to be kind of more of this conflict. And how does kind of her life from the beginning fit back into the second half?
Yeah, so I mean, it, it does that. I think it does it rather well.
Mm,
Personally, it's actually kind of split into thirds by the end. Obviously, I don't really kind of want to reveal what the third act
of
is like,
course,
but
yeah,
obviously, it builds towards them trying to find, Vanya and a conclusion to that kind of section of the film. But yeah, you're right. It is kind of bifurcated, which does actually make the film kind of more digestible. Because yeah, because you get a sense of
yeah, okay,
what Anora's life was like kind of before, and and the world that she kind of lives in, this kind of this sex work world, which Sean Baker is very familiar with. He's done loads of films on sex work before, and
hmm,
gets down quite into the kind of weeds of it, and does a lot of research and talks to a lot of people in the industry. So yeah, I'd say it doesn't feel overwhelming because I think it's got a long enough kind of run time, and like I say, it's very separated. So you do establish that romance early on and the nature of their relationship. And that middle section, that's where the bulk of the film is. That's kind of the fun and games of the film. Um, and you do have a few characters in there which kind of has the potential to get messy, but it really is led by Mikey Madison, who again won Best Actress for this role. She's really a tour de force like throughout the film. Despite being the kind of like prisoner of the group, she is kind of the most active, and she's shouting, and she's kind of really leading the dance. So the film is called Anora, and so it, it's because it's quite directly mission focused. It is find Vanya, and it's also quite character focused because the name of the game is Anora. um, it means that you're not getting confused.
yeah,
You're not getting lost in this thing. You're kind of getting lost in Brooklyn as they're kind of all going about and trying to
mhm,
do this. But um, and that is another thing actually to kind of note. Uh, is that what I've kind of said? It might feel quite serious or quite gritty. That middle section of the film where they're actually trying to find Vanya is really comical. Actually, which I feel like a lot of people haven't kind of talked about.
yeah.
People,
I
yeah,
was gonna say I haven't heard a lot about that. I mean, I have heard mostly praise for Mikey Madison, but I
Yeah.
think the plot itself is something to be discussed because I hadn't, I wasn't really aware of kind of the plot direction that it was going
yeah, because a lot of people I think know the whole stripper marriages and oligarchs
Yeah, of
some
course.
if
Yeah.
they know anything about the film at all, that is, and think it just, oh, it's just about the tensions of that. But it is kind of actually quite a almost like a slapstick
Sure.
comedy at points. That there's kind of these, but they're kind of like bumbling. They're kind of like the Three Stooges. That these Russian and Armenian men who were sent over, they're all kind of arguing with each other, and
Hmm.
just like just they feel like the people they'd see, see something and they'd run over and trip on a banana peel. They're kind of like that kind of people, and just at the wrong moment, someone's vomiting in a car, they get motion sickness or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like um, it all goes wrong. And I mean, while you've got kind of Anora berating them the whole time, which is kind of you know, the I guess she's kind of your eyes into it, looking at them, thinking these guys are so stupid.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, it hasn't been talked about much, the kind of the specific plot, because it's a very actually focused plot. Which you might just think it is just about, oh, it's character relationships. No, it is actually quite a, you know, it's Find Vanya, and it's
Yeah.
got all these scenarios of them exploring Brooklyn, basically. Brooklyn is their playground for these kind of wild encounters and like funny jokes. That's the thing. I was laughing like throughout the whole thing. And the
Hmm.
scene where the men actually show up and try to take Vanya, and Vanya like runs out and escapes from them is really funny. Like, especially
Hmm.
because he's such like a wacky person, and he's just like
Yeah.
so timid and just like even though it's kind of like these three men breaking into his house and holding his wife, and you're still getting laughs out of it.
Yeah.
um
It sounds like a
wi-
welcome, like, breath in a quite what might be considered an intense film from what it sounds like. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, just comedic relief. I was not expecting you to come out with that.
No.
I mean, but this is something Sean Baker does do well in his films. It's
Mm.
if you watched, and he plays off both tones well. So
Mm.
Anora is still a gritty film. It's kind of a sleek, gritty film. I think it's his nicest looking film. So there's kind of, the kind of neon streets and the kind of, wet pavements, these nice reflections and stuff. It's kind of one of his better looking films, despite being quite gritty. But he plays, in his other films like Red Rocket. He kind of has quite a funny main character who's making a lot of jokes, but then the kind of conflict at the center of it is the fact that he's actually a kind of a liar and taking advantage of a young woman in Red Rocket. And he balances both those quite well, because that, the whole tone of Red Rocket is that, well, he seems really nice and he's really funny and he kind of charms us and we enjoy that. But actually, there's something going on underneath. And that's kind of the point, is that he's been able to do that kind of his whole life and get away with these things. In Anora, it's similar, because not necessarily the characters aren't finding it funny all the time. Actually, probably Anora is probably getting quite angry at some of the scenarios that
Yeah.
happen. She is like a ball of rage the whole film, really. But these scenarios are quite comical. But because there's kind of this comicalness, again, there's this very kind of laissez-faire, kind of hedonistic attitude of Vanya early on in the film. It kind of it almost means that when the film does have those serious moments where you kind of get hit, it's kind of like the rug gets like kind of pulled out from under you, if you know what I mean. So it's not it's
Mm.
kind of it's the sudden impact moments of when, boom, the film gets serious, about the relationship or about, whatever it is. um you feel it because you've just been watching this kind of, the characters well, but the tone has been very different, and suddenly it shifts and it hits you. That
Yeah.
makes sense. It is quite deliberate as well. It's not a mishmash of tones. It is quite a different. It's quite a good blend of them, and using them kind of in juxtaposition to each other quite
Sure.
deliberately.
Yeah.
Like I said at the start, Honora is a sex worker and she's a stripper, um, and that is something you need to be aware of going into the movie, that it does have that in it, and it does have graphic, or not graphic, so to speak, but explicit, scenes within it. But it's not all the film is, and actually, a lot of that is done towards the start, and kind of again in that middle section, which makes up the bulk of the film, kind of wanes. It's not as focused about that, and it is a very, again, it's it's got a clear plot and clear characters, and it's an art film at the end of the day. So it's
Mm.
not, don't be put off by it if you think like, oh, this is a dirty movie, and that's not the type of films that I watch. I don't watch films about strippers and whatever.
Yeah.
It's actually it's an art film. It's why it won these Oscars. It's because it's quite moving, it's quite touching, and it has kind of something to say again about the relationship between, can a relationship between a poor kind of Brooklyn stripper and the son of a Russian oligarch who's this kind of unwieldy kind of personality, can that last, is there
Yeah.
a barrier again? It's like kind of, classic kind of forbidden romance story, so it's got that element to it. If you're
Yeah.
someone who is more interested in sort of a classical love story, again, this is a very kind of urbanized modern version of it, but I think that should be emphasized, along with the comedic tone and everything else I talked about, is that you don't need to feel like you're watching something low class, which I think
Yeah.
some of Sean Baker's other films have suffered from, in the view of some of the general public, and probably why he's not got the awards,
Mm.
despite the great work he's produced. Because I think some people felt like that about them. But I think Anora, of all his films, is one of the most accessible, especially one of the most accessible that deals with sex work.
Mm.
So again, I think if that's something that's off-putting you, I would say also give it a chance. Because yeah, it's an art film. It's about relationships. It's about, you know, the influence and of money, and the nature of being in an industry like sex work, and how that affects your behavior as well. So
Hmm.
again, yeah, there's really a lot going on in it, and I can see why it won all the Oscars. It surprised me somewhat that this was kind of the actual the one the Oscars picked, especially given the
Yeah.
tone of it. And given that it is quite funny in places, which is, often comedies are not the things that win. Um, so yeah, I would say there's kind of a lot in here for everyone, as long as you're kind of an adult, you're adult and you know what you're going in for.
Yeah. If people can see past the sex aspect of it, I think, like you said, definitely give it a chance. I'm just really ex I'm excited to see Mikey Madison in the role because of
Mm,
all the praise and the awards. And
yeah,
yeah, yeah. It wasn't on my radar, and now it is, so
I mean, upset all of us because we all predicted Demi Moore and it went to
mm.
Hmm.
Mikey Madison. So
There
I
we
mean,
are.
you can have your say whether you think she's deserving of that. I know there were a lot of people that did complain, but it is a
Mm.
really excellent performance, and the film rests on her shoulders really a lot. So,
Hmm.
That
again,
sounds
yeah,
great.
really worth seeing it for that as well. If you like acting, really.
Yeah.
If everything I've talked about Anora has kind of caught your fancy, convinced you to watch it, perhaps. Again, always a good thing to watch these Oscar films, because you get to have an opinion about them, about whether it should
Hmm.
have won or not, which is one of the main reasons I like doing it. So, uh, yeah, have your say. But if you'd like to have your say, watch this film at Saffron Screen. We've got it on three times, like I said. So we've got it on Friday, the 4th of April at 7:30. Put it on then Thursday, the 10th of April, also at 7:30, and then for a final time at 7:30 again on Tuesday, the 15th. So I hope you can catch one of those three screenings. Because again, I really like this film. Wasn't personally my film of the year, as probably everyone knows. Dune Part Two was mine, but definitely deserved to sort of be up there in that category. So I'd say, yeah, definitely give it a watch.
Exactly. I'm just gonna say one word. I don't, is it a word? No, it's an acronym. FOMO.
Yeah.
If you don't watch it, then I need to actually figure out what date I'm booking my ticket and book it. Um, yeah, no, thank you for that because I have learned a lot more about it than I thought. Even though I was convinced beforehand, I'm just like, okay, this is what I could be in for.
Yeah. Primed your expectations.
Yeah.
Hopefully in a good way.
Yeah. Moving on from the Nora, I'm not going to spend too much time on this one because we've got two screenings of it and we've already had one. I wanted to give a mention because we've had, well, we have Arts on Screen screenings, but I don't think we've had one like this for quite a while. And I'm biased because I thought it was really good, and I'm a sucker for Hans Zimmer. So we do have so Hans Zimmer has got a new concert movie, I guess you'd call it. He's done previous ones before. I don't know if they were in the cinema or not, but I know that he's got ones that have gone to DVD and Blu-ray. But this new one is called Hans Zimmer and Friends, Diamond in the Desert. So it was recorded at his on his previous tour that he's just done in Dubai. And I think it's the first time they played there in Dubai. I was so excited for this. I was waiting all week for it. I went and saw it on Friday night. I even wore my Hans Zimmer t-shirt. It was
You
great.
have a Hans Zimmer t-shirt?
Yeah, I went to see him.
Oh, that's
And I
cool.
was like, I
That's
want the
cool.
merch. I
Yeah.
wasn't gonna get merch, but I saw this t-shirt and it's got Hans Zimmer Live like logo on it, and then it's got like all the different names of some of the scores that he did that he performed.
Mm.
So I knew what the show was gonna be because I'd seen it just at a different venue. So it was the concert on the big screen, which was amazing. Um,
Hmm.
but it was also weaved in with different interviews of him talking to his friends. So that kind of had impacted him or he'd worked with. So he spoke to like Phineas and Billie Eilish that he worked on the Bond scores and uh, Pharrell Williams, who he was kind of talking to him and saying that like Pharrell was one of the big reasons why he even started playing live. Because Pharrell was like, you need to get out there. Yeah, so it was kind of it we've done all these interviews, and the way that it was actually done was really interesting because it wasn't what I expected from well, it wasn't what I expected. All the interviews were even the ratio of was different, the aspect ratio, and it was in
Oh,
black and
okay.
white, the interviews, and then contrast between that and the actual footage of the performance with all of the lights and the pyro and everything was absolutely, it was very jarring, but it was like
Mm.
it was the right thing to do.
Yeah. And was it is do you feel like they add like the interviews added to what you were seeing in the show,
Yeah,
or yeah, they did? Because I was just wondering because I thought it was quite interesting because it is almost makes it into a Hans Zimmer documentary and not just a concert show.
exactly, yeah.
So I was interested, yeah, to see how those two things kind of play off each
Yeah.
other.
And it wasn't too, there weren't too many interviews. Like there was good chunks of time where you were like watching and listening
Mm.
for like, I don't know, good 20 minutes. And it was just, oh, it was so good. And hearing it and seeing it on the big screen and with the surround sound was the right way to
Yeah,
watch it. There was two moments where I cried because it was just
really.
so good.
What were the other kind of highlights? Because a lot of people listening might not know actually who Hans Zimmer is, but we've probably heard a lot of his soundtracks and loved them.
Yeah,
So can you give kind of a little brief like kind of rundown of some of the best stuff in there, or things that
yeah.
people might not know are Hans Zimmer?
Yeah, so I mean, one of the big ones that he spoke about, because he spoke with Timothy Chalamet and Zendaya. So obviously they were talking about Dune,
Mm,
and the film kind of opened in a desert, uh, and where the name came from, Diamond in the Desert. But they opened it in the desert singing with one of the vocalists that did the Dune score.
mm,
And that's how it started. And then they went back and I think they did a little bit more of the second film. So it was Dune. I also cried at Superman because I love it. And then he
Is
did
that, is that his Man of Steel
Man of Steel.
theme? His Man of Steel,
Yeah,
yeah.
sorry, not
Oh.
Superman, but
I mean, it is a Superman movie.
yeah,
Not to be confused with the John Williams
no,
Superman score, which is
that's
also
very
very
true.
iconic.
That is
Uh,
very true. He
his
did Man of
Superman one
Steel.
is also excellent.
Yeah.
His Man of Steel, yeah.
And Wonder Woman as well. He did a big part of his Wonder Woman kind of
Love that.
repertoire.
I
But then
love
also
Wonder Woman.
he did the classics like Gladiator. And also like for Gladiator as well, instead of showing the footage of them performing on stage with his orchestra, they had like they set it up like on a soundstage. I don't know if it was on a soundstage. I think it possibly was in the desert, but I couldn't tell because
Right.
you never saw the sky. And it was all like lit professionally. But it was like it was set. like they were in the world of Gladiator. So like all of
Oh, that's
their
cool.
costumes were like authentic. And what made me really giggle, and there was someone else in front of me that pointed it out, they were doing this like really moving, emotional performance of I can't remember what piece it was, but from Gladiator. Um,
Hmm.
and in the background there was a guy that was just sat on the sand with two goats. And I was like, this guy has been
What is he
hired.
doing?
Come and sit and listen to this performance and just sit with two goats. There was
Mate,
no,
sounds like an ideal job to me. I don't know.
The goats
Sitting with
need to
two
no.
know.
goats,
It's just like, why? Why
listening
do
to
you
Hans
need
Zimmer.
goats?
I think I could think of worse jobs.
That's true.
Mm.
I mean, the budget, like at the one of the oh, what was it? It was possibly Dark Knight. Uh,
Hmm.
that you again, it wasn't the stage version. They were like in a building like in Dubai. All of the external bits were filmed in Dubai. Um, and they were in a building in the middle of the night, and they had a helicopter filming from outside and like shining one of the like main lights through the windows while they performed this. And it was just incredible. And yeah, it was very good. I don't want to go on too much because I will just keep saying the same thing of like, oh my God, it's so
Yeah.
good. But
It's a really emotional experience, and you get to learn about Hans Zimmer, who's just
it is,
an
yeah.
awesome guy, an awesome career.
Yeah, you do learn. I mean, I learned a lot, and I'd kind of seen documentaries before, and I learned new stuff. So, definitely recommend if you want to learn more, if you like the music. Yeah, it was really nice to see um the actual production and how it was done. So with the uh the footage of the interviews with the footage on stage and then with the random bits that kind of fit in as well. So that is we've got it on one more time, so I'm very tempted to watch it again, but I'm not gonna. Um and the talent of these people in these musicians in the orchestra, like like you hear it all the time in like the recorded versions and in the film, but actually watching the concert version and having the close up um image of them playing their instruments was absolutely insane. At one point, I said something that I would probably bleep out, but I said Jesus something something because of the guitarist playing a solo during the Man of Steel
Hmm.
part. And I was like, that's absolutely insane what they can do. Incredible.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I absolutely, yeah, I really need to see it. I missed it the first time it was on, so yeah, you've basically locked in. Yeah, I'm going when
it's
it's
long
on.
as well, but
Yeah.
I didn't mind at all because I didn't find it too long. I found it just right. If it went on for a bit longer, I think it would have been tricky. But
I
it is,
guess it's sort of chapterized as well, so it
yeah.
doesn't seem as long. It's kind
Yeah.
of
So like,
split into
yeah,
chunks.
Hmm.
breaks it up with the interviews
Yeah.
and stuff.
So when if we do want to see it, when can we see it?
So if you do want to see it, I might be there, who knows? But it's on again for the final time. It is Tuesday, the 8th of April at 7 p.m. So it is about 2.5 hours. That's why it starts earlier at 7 p.m. It is so worth it. Okay, yeah. So that's my long but short little touch on Hans Zimmer. The next one I'm also really excited to hear about because I heard about it when it was programmed, but I haven't looked into it or anything. But I'm all ears, Emily.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, there's not a lot online about this movie, which is why I kind of wanted to talk about it kind of even more contextually, is because I think any kind of light shone on it is good. I think yeah, there's not a lot I can find apart from like page-long reviews that are praising it. This film is called The Stimming Pool. It's actually an experimental documentary fiction hybrid. I think someone described it as, and it's 67 minutes long. So it's nice little short and sweet snippet. And I wanted to bring awareness to this one because it's April is Autism Awareness Month, and this film is described as an exploration into neurodiversity through the eyes of an autistic person. So using kind of the experimental film components, I mean, in the trailer they use hypersensitivity to kind of focus on sounds and visuals that kind of put you in the shoes of an autistic person. And so not only is this film going to be great for people with autism, it's also going to be a great way to kind of show people that perspective and shine a light on that perspective. And I mean, it's a really great showing that we've got because it's our relaxed screening.
Mhm.
Um, it's going to be Wednesday, the 16th of April at 11 a.m. And it includes low-level lighting and sound, no ads or trailers beforehand. Customers are allowed to move around, and we've also got the subtitle glasses on, which is something that we've been talking about in previous podcast episodes for a few months now. Um, so I think it will be really great to have that mix of kind of a film that is really accessible, but also kind of
Yeah.
something that can be informative even for neurotypical people and people that just want to come along and see kind of a different way of doing things.
Mhm.
And I'm really excited for it because I love experimental film. I think it's a really interesting way of doing it.
Yeah. So do we know what we're actually in terms of, obviously it's got this kind of perspective that it's doing and um and kind of yeah, something that it wants us to kind of experience. But um what are we actually watching? Do you know what kind of the film is at its core about?
Yeah, so I'll read you out the description we've got on the saffron screen on the website.
Mhm.
It says The Stimming Pool is a unique film exploring a world shaped by neurodiverse perspectives. The narrative unfolds through an autistic camera, capturing diverse subjects navigating environments both challenging and comforting. Characters, some concealing their autism, others thriving in their communities, share a common goal, finding a space free from societal norms, the stimming pool. So it's kind of this, what I'm getting from it. I mean, the trailer doesn't give a lot away. It's kind of showing you the visuals more than anything. But what I'm getting from the narrative is it's this group of neurodiverse people who meet at this place called the Stimming Pool, where they're kind of allowed to explore their neurodiversity away from judgment. Um, and it really is through the lens of these people, which kind of is a very interesting way of doing things, and it kind of reminded me of Nickel Boys, even
Yes.
despite
Mm,
Yeah.
not knowing a lot about what the visuals are going to be like, it kind of gave me that interpretation. So
yeah.
I'm quite
Mhm.
excited for it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a brilliant way to it's a different way of doing film, right? It's in so many ways as well in terms of visually and storytelling, whether it's even if it's a documentary, just like having that thread of a narrative throughout it. Um, and yeah, showing people that film is whatever you want or need it to be.
Yeah,
Mm.
I
And
think
that's kind of, yeah, that's why I want to see it.
a lot of reviews have said that it doesn't try to find the answer to anything, and it's more just an exploration and a celebration
Yeah.
of autism
Yeah.
and individuals living with autism. And I think there's a lot of there's a lot of fun that I can sense from it. There's a lot of mixed media, there's animation dipping in and out. And it feels like there is a way it could be an attack on the senses, but it isn't. It's
Mhm.
handled in a very delicate way.
Mm.
And I mean, the the um the filmmakers are a group called I think the Neurocultures Collective, which is a group of five filmmakers, and then the director, Stephen Eastwood. So it really is kind of their their view and creating the film in a way that they feel is personal to them, which obviously may not be personal to everyone on the
Mm,
autism spectrum, but it is authentic and raw, I think.
yeah, and I think it's very cool to have that to have neurodiverse people doing a film about
Mhm.
neurodiverse people is
Yeah.
quite because it can be especially quite challenging the film industry for people who are neurodiverse. Sometimes it's not always kind of you know the most accessible.
Yeah.
So I think it's good to have stuff like this, even as kind of very clear and obvious um, role models in some sense, or kind of inspirations as well. That you get a film like
Yeah.
this, you get a group like this that's kind of banding together, and you never know. These things can really, like you said, it's an enjoyable film, but it's also one that can hopefully inspire change or at least inspire a
Yeah.
discussion as well.
Mhm.
So I think all these things like contribute to a really a good thing. And again, the screening itself, I'm glad that we have made it really accessible as well with the relaxed screening, the
Yeah.
subtitling, or the watch word glass subtitling,
And I
all of
mean, in
that. Yeah.
terms of accessible screenings, it's garnered a lot. Even just I'm looking at the BFI website, and they have like a multitude of different screenings going on. They've got two audio description screenings, two descriptive subtitle screenings, one British Sign Language screening, and two relaxed screenings. So to be able to witness this kind of film from all angles, giving as many people as possible accessibility,
Mhm.
sorry, is really a great thing.
Yeah. And I think
Yeah,
it's I mean, we keep saying at Saffron Screen that cinema is for everybody, but we know that there are barriers up, like for a
Mm.
lot of different people. Um, and that's why I was so excited about getting the Watchword subtitle glasses, is because we're kind of doing our best to move towards a world where accessibility, people don't have to ask for it. It's just there when they need
Yeah.
it. Um, and so to have more relaxed screenings with us and for us to have
Mm.
this film as well and get and just present it to an audience in our area is just
Yeah.
necessary.
And
yeah,
it's the only
definitely.
it's really this is the type of stuff you get from a community cinema like Saffron
Yeah,
Screen, right? Rather than the
yeah,
Odeon. The Odeon might show it, but it's not. They're not putting in as much effort, quite frankly, to make it
Exactly.
accessible like we are. So
Yeah.
I think yeah, it's one of the reasons I think to support a place like Saffron Screen and
Mhm.
um again why yeah it's so nice to have these things.
and we know the demand is there for accessible screenings in terms of relaxed screenings and just as well to have that kind of representation for people who come along that are watching it and they're like, hey, I can relate to that, like to see themselves on the screen in that way. Um, I know that like in the past, if I've seen someone that I can relate to on the screen, I'm like, oh my God, that's like it's not
Yeah,
life-changing, but it can be, and it is very, very important. And I hope that people are going to come along and see parts of themselves, and maybe learn something about themselves or learn something about other people. Um, yeah, there's so many good things about this film. Yeah,
I think the idea that a film about diversity is coming at it from such a range of angles. I mean, you've got the experimental aspect, you have the animation aspect, you have the documentary aspect, you have um, kind of the brilliant visuals from what I've seen. You've got and then you have the actual informative part, I think is really brilliant and I mean meta to say the least.
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And there's this one reviewer that put it really nicely. I'll just leave you with this.
Okay,
Um, they said, the swimming pool invites you to experience the oscillating beat of the neurodiverse experience.
I like that, the oscillating beat.
Hmm.
that's very
What a
good.
combination of words.
What a
Yeah.
combination of words.
So I hope we get a variety of different people, neurotypical people, neurodiverse people, like that come to see it and come to see it together because I'd really be interested, if the whole point is to ex have that experience. It's I think it'd be really interesting to see the different perspectives on it and how different people engage with it. But
Mm.
Definitely.
um,
I think it'll be a good one for our kind of the people that are missing the Monday night art house
Yeah.
films as well.
yeah, yeah,
We've had a distinct lack of kind of experimental work on, so that'll be good to
mm,
see some people coming back.
Yeah, we've
yeah,
managed to get some good titles because like it's really hard to find the right film for like what used to be in quote Monday night films, but like so
Yeah.
for example the independent and the foreign language films, but finding the right one has been tricky recently, but
Yeah.
we are starting to see and have like suggestions as well, which is great, of films that are foreign language or independent and just off the beaten track kind of thing. Um, so I'm really looking forward to see them back in the program when we can, and this is one of them. Yeah,
yeah. This is one of them, and I think this month is much better for that sort of thing.
yeah.
But if we do want to see it in this month in April, when can we watch it?
Yeah, so it is Wednesday, the 16th of April at 11 a.m. And as I mentioned, it's a relaxed screening, so anyone's welcome. It'll be low-level lighting and low-level sound just to make it a little bit more comfortable for those who need it. We've also got two other relaxed screenings happening this month. We have a Minecraft movie on Saturday the 12th at 11 a.m. and then the penguin lessons on the 20th at 11 a.m. as well. So get yourself down for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this
We've,
is a really strong month. I'm looking forward to
mm,
Definitely, yeah.
a lot of things. I mean, we didn't even talk about like we got like a real pain on again, Snow
yeah,
White, like I said, the Minecraft movie, and
yeah,
um what was the other one that I was really looking forward to? Um I'm Still Here,
yeah,
right? I mean, it's such a good month. There's so much.
yeah,
There's something for everyone, really is.
yeah. It's hard to pick out like which ones to mention because they all look really good.
Yeah,
Even though like some of them I don't want to see because it's not my thing, like they still have such a buzz around them.
yeah,
And like Twiggy as well. So Thursday the 17th of April, Twiggy. That's selling really well. And that was one that it was suggested by the cinema manager actually. Um
yes.
and so it's a kind of dive into it's a dive into Twiggy. That sounds really bizarre, but that's what it says on the tin. And it's basically a look at the life of this icon, and a lot of people are seeing it in the program and going, "Oh, this looks like I really want to learn more." It's a part of my kind of culture, it's part of my childhood or my
Yeah, it's my
teen years.
generation.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
my generation, so that's going down really well. I know obviously Conclave is, but we don't need to mention Conclave because it just keeps selling.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but I'm looking forward to the substance. I'm a little bit scared, but I'm looking forward to the substance.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good
But I
one.
think I
Oscar
possibly
winner.
filmed the worst of it by accident.
Oh,
I
one
know.
of those. The internet, that's what it does.
Yeah,
Spoils
I
movies for
couldn't
you.
not look. It was just
Yeah.
there playing, and I was like, ah,
That should be on the trailer. You can't look away.
I know,
Like,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, no, it's great. And it's really good because we've got so Snow White, I don't know if it's the second week we've got it or third week, possibly third week. But
Mm,
we're getting them a lot quicker, which is why we've got them on more as well. And because of the Easter
yes.
holidays. Um and I just all I'm gonna say is that the children yearn for the mines.
Yes.
So
The Minecraft movie. It's
it looks
finally
so
here.
bonkers.
It does look bonkers.
That's
I
so
hope the
funny.
kids enjoy it. I'll
Mm,
need to see it as a former Minecraft kid myself.
yeah.
Yeah,
I will have to check it out.
yeah,
I have to sneak into the back of some screening at some point.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
The children yearn for the mines. It's so funny.
You know what you could do, Zach? If you really
what?
felt the passion for it, you could re-download Minecraft and build the cinema
Oh, Saffron screen in
back
Minecraft.
screen in Minecraft world.
Absolutely.
Put that on the socials.
That'd be insane. I don't have the patience for that kind of stuff.
But it
But
could
if
be
you
done.
want to, that'd
Why
be
am I
cute.
actually considering this now? You've kind of given me an idea.
Oh, it would be so cool if you did it and then you made like a screen recording of it, and we put it on
Yeah.
like before the film.
Oh my
I
God.
don't know if that's physically
That's a
possible.
lot of pressure.
It's
That's
a
a
lot
Yeah.
of
lot of
pressure.
Put it on
pressure.
the socials or something.
Mm.
Need to get
Yeah,
crafting. Need to get building.
you could go viral.
Yeah. Viral for building saffron screen.
Up on screen.
We are a very famous town now. I mean,
Apparently,
I
yeah.
you
know,
know,
best place
the
to live in the
best place to
UK.
live
I know.
What's
I was
going on?
interviewed.
because of places like Saffron Screen. That's why.
Yeah,
So true.
I was like, yes, you name drop us.
Yeah.
Hmm.
The saffron. No, Zach yearns for the mine. No, wait, Zach yearns for the.
Zach yearns for the mind.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do yearn for the mines. I'm literally, I've got, you say re-download. It is on my laptop, like right now. A laptop I'm doing this podcast on. I could literally open Minecraft in another tab right now if I wanted to.
Yeah, April is a jam-packed month with Easter holidays and all of the Oscar screenings, and I've got way too many tickets. No, it's not too much because you can never have too many tickets, but it's a lot that I will lose them. Um, so we're looking forward to seeing everyone and hearing the feedback and hearing what you think of all of the films. It's always really great, like after a film, even if I go to watching a film and I'm not working. It's lovely to see like people come out and talk to volunteers and say, "Oh, that was a great film," or like, "Oh, that was terrible." Um,
Yeah.
just having that engagement that you don't get in like a mainstream cinema
Mm.
is
Yeah.
very special. But unless you guys have anything else to say, we will head off and let you enjoy your month of films, and we will see you in May. I had to think about that then. What comes after
May
Yes.
is
April?
crazy. What's going on?
I know.
We already, before we go, in May, we've already got the Solver Murder She Wrote screening coming back that we had last year. I don't know if either of you remember, or I don't think
Yes.
either
Yeah.
of you worked,
Hmm.
but
I didn't work it, but
But
I
I
was aware.
remember.
Yeah.
it was sold out. The guy who performs it and kind of takes you on this journey is absolutely hilarious and so lovely. And that's in May. So that's I think it's the 10th of May, Saturday, 10th of May. Yeah, I would simply go like if you want to come along with your pals and experience Jessica Fletcher in full like detective mode on the big screen and you have like you're allowed to shout things at the screen. And there's even like a little sing song at the end of a rewrite of the theme tune. It's great. I can just imagine the little like a piano tune in my head now. Anyway, 10th of March, 10th of March, 10th of May. I'm
10th of May. Oh, well, yeah. So you got your time to book tickets, but it's obviously very popular. So
Yes. Thank you for saving that because I'm past it.
okay. It's too late in the day. The
Oh
brain
dear.
is it
Not
happens. It
even
happens.
it's not even 8 o'clock and I'm past it. Yeah, but until then, enjoy April. Enjoy whatever you come and see with us.
Hope you guys will enjoy. Have a great April.
Bye bye.
Bye. I was going to tell a joke for April Fools, but I couldn't think of one quick enough. That's really
Too late.
funny.